Hi, and welcome to Embrace Destiny. In today's video, I'd like to walk you through some more of the characteristics of the game, while also commenting on this gameplay. As you can see here, I'm running as my Titan again, always, and this time I'm playing as the subclass of Defender. Now, as the name would suggest, Defender is generally a more defensive and supportive subclass, but I wanted to try and use it a little bit more aggressively. So here's what I've been up to. Continuing Destiny's obsession with the number 3, it is important to note that players in Destiny generally have 3 types of abilities. You have your melee, you have your grenade, and you have your super, which you can see in the bottom left of the screen. I just threw my grenade, my melee is the other blue ability that hasn't been used, and my super is that gray little bar that's continuing to build on the bottom left of the screen. So, what does the Defender get? Defender gets a couple of different grenades, damage, area denial. One of my favorites that I've been running recently is the suppressor grenade, which, if it doesn't kill a Guardian outright, will actually stop them from using their super and using their grenade. Obviously, timing has to be crucial here, but I really enjoy seeing the look on a person's face when their super runs out, or at least shutting down their grenade in the middle of a firefight. The Defender's super is not aggressive at all. It does no damage. What it does is it creates what is called the Ward of Dawn. It's this kind of purple force field bubble around you that can protect your teammates from any damage coming from the outside. It's not indestructible, but it is pretty mighty. It takes a lot of damage or a super from an enemy to destroy it. Now, in many of Destiny's multiplayer modes, the Defender is not entirely the most useful. Since his super doesn't do any outward damage, it runs at a disadvantage compared to the Sunbreaker or the Striker Titans, which we'll talk about in later videos. Also, while the area denial of his Ward of Dawn is pretty powerful, allies cannot shoot through the shield, so if they are inside, they cannot shoot outside. So it kind of contains the players and makes for good, easy targets for the enemy. But I wanted to try something different here in Rift. Rift is one of several multiplayer game types that can be found in the Crucible in Destiny. Rift is essentially Destiny's Capture the Flag mode, and it is pretty simple. An object will spawn in the middle of the map, and you have to pick it up and run it into the enemy's face at the other end of the map. Now, as such, there are only really 2 or possibly 3 areas of interest: your own capture point, that of the enemies, and the place where you pick the rift up in the first place. As such, it is kind of difficult to use the Ward of Dawn since the enemy knows where you're going to put it, and they can just avoid it or even use it to their advantage by waiting for your allies to draw inside before ambushing them. So what I've done here is I've actually equipped different pieces of armor and weapons that I hope will actually help make the Ward of Dawn a bit more aggressive in the gameplay. The first thing I've done is I equipped the Helm of St. 14, which you'll see coming up in a little bit in this video. The helm has a unique feature where if you're wearing it as a Titan Defender, your Ward of Dawn actually blinds all enemies who enter into it. I've used it to great effect in the story mode, as it's obviously a lot easier to confuse AI, computer-generated opponents than it is human. But it's difficult to use in the Crucible because enemies can easily see that you're wearing the helm, and one trip into the ward will remind them never to go in there again. Sounds great in order for protecting your allies, but then you don't end up using the blindness perk. It's great in game types like Control, where you have specific areas that your teammates can cloister underneath, and specific areas where you do not want your enemy to enter. But it's a little bit more difficult to use in Rift. So as you can see here, what I've done is I put the Ward of Dawn down in the middle of a hallway, a crowded area, hoping that it would blind enemies who run through. Unfortunately, as you just saw, it's easily countered by other enemy supers, especially the Fist of Havoc. That's the Striker Titan super, and it is very, very dangerous as it deals a high amount of damage in an area. I played with this formula over a little bit, and while it's not exactly featured a lot in this gameplay, I did find it to be pretty effective. The suppressor grenades block enemies from using their abilities, the Ward of Dawn blocks them from being able to see, and all in all it helps made me a bit more of a supportive player, which I always enjoy. Next piece of equipment I'd like to discuss is Red Death, which is the gun that I've been using for the majority of this video. Red Death is an exotic weapon. It's one of the rarest in the game, it's difficult to obtain, and you can only wield one exotic weapon at a time. It has a unique feature where kills with the weapon will generate health and also speed up your reloading. I've been finding it quite useful in the PvE, player versus environment, where you're playing against AI opponents. It's a little bit more difficult in the Crucible, obviously. I find that its accuracy isn't as great. The gun doesn't fire with as much stability as other pulse rifles. But nevertheless, the perks of being able to gain health upon a kill are really beneficial to me. I find that a lot of times I go through a gunfight, I kill someone, they've dropped me down to less than half health, and somebody just runs through and finishes me off, which is obviously very annoying. But anyway, that's my current setup. That's what I've been running with for a little while. And thank you very much for making it to the end of this video. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I hope to only improve the gameplay and quality of these videos over time. For Dacia Astra, my friends.